Backdrop all right for you?
We're good to go. Guys, welcome to Power Lunch on LinkedIn Live. I'm Rhett Power. I'm your host. I'll be doing the show every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday around 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Today is going to be a little later, and based on whether the technology gods shine upon me, we'll get this program off usually around that time. It's on LinkedIn's new platform, the Live platform, which is really fascinating. I'll be talking with today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, and corporate leaders about their secrets to success and their habits that help them get there. And because I want us to learn from them and get better. The fun part is this is an interactive show, so we can answer questions online during the show or after the show. So please ask them, because we can learn from what you have from your questions. Now, we're also simulcasting this on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and with the help of Social Live's platform, which is really phenomenal. If you like the program, like or share, spread the word about it, and so that other people can learn from our guest. It's I always like to say this: it's time to learn from the best, and today we have one of the best. We have Dr. Lance Secretan. He's the former CEO of a Fortune 100 company. I'll let him tell you about that in a few minutes. He's a university professor, columnist, poet, author of 21 books, I think, probably, and more. He's a world-class athlete, and he's the world's top authority on inspirational leadership. He's the founder of the Secretan Center, which is ranked #1 in the world in leadership consulting. And his latest book is The Bellwether Effect, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. Thank you for joining us, Lance.
Great to be here, Rhett. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I met you out in Salt Lake City probably over a year and a half ago now, and was just sort of blown away by your work and your body of work really over the course of your career. And I wanted to talk today about the book, but I first wanted to get into your work at the Secretan Center and talk about higher ground leadership a little bit, if you don't mind, because I think that's to me, I think what you like to say is inspired people create inspired organizations, right? And so talk about that. Talk about higher ground leadership and what that really is.
Well, high ground leadership is a philosophy that is anchored in inspiration, not leadership. So the journey really is that we've been teaching leadership and studying leadership. We spend $170 billion a year on leadership development. We've got 240,000 books on leadership on Amazon. I mean, it is zoo, and leadership is broken everywhere. And there is, it seems to me, not much point in trying to continue to push this rope uphill. So what is it we're actually looking for? Well, at first I thought it was motivation, but then I realized motivation is fear-based. And so what this informed me, actually inspiration, which is love-based. And what we're all yearning for is to be more inspired. So higher ground leadership is about how to create inspiring people within themselves first, then so they can inspire others, and then so they can inspire the world.
What is the difference between motivation and inspiration? Because I think we lump those things together sometimes, right? And sort of use those words interchangeably.
Right. And we pretty well always do. We say, I want to be motivated and inspired, like it's the same thing. But actually, motivation is where we effectively bribe someone or manipulate them in some way to bring about a certain outcome or behavior. And typically motivation is like, we're going to run a sales contest, and the contest goes till June 30th, and you get $10,000 if you hit the numbers, and that's right. Motivation, right? Inspiration is an entirely different thing. It comes from within, and it's contextual. So an inspiring leader creates an environment in which you can be inspired. So the shorthand for this that I often explain to people is that motivation is lighting a fire under someone, and inspiration is lighting a fire within someone. Now, I don't mean that one's good and one's bad. I'm just saying we don't know the difference. We know very little about inspiration, and we don't know when to use one or the other. So if this room catches fire, I'm going to motivate you to get out of here. There's a right time and place for motivation. But we've overdone this. Every leadership theory, every human resource policy is built on fear, motivation, basically Pavlov, only using fancy modern words.
How do you, as a manager or a leader, sort of distinguish the two, though? How do you get out of that habit of, when you just said a second ago, sales contest, I said, oh, that's, okay, I'm guilty. I mean, how do you stop? How do you get out of that cycle? How do you break that cycle? Or how do you recognize it, really?
Well, one of the things we need to understand, I don't know if you agree about this, but the way I see it at the moment is that we're overloaded already. I mean, you can't look at the internet today without getting bashed with 100 different ads before you finish reading the news item. And, they are unrelenting in the sense they won't let you click off it or shut it or anything. So it just forces at you. I'm thinking today that we're getting overloaded with this, that it's tiring us out and it's landing on deaf ears because we get so much of it. We're almost immune now. So motivation has lost its strength and inspiration. I mean, we do everything, frankly. Rhett, when we're inspired, we smell a rose because the rose inspires us. We go to a movie because the movie inspires us. We join companies because they inspire us. We fall in love with people who inspire us. In other words, everything in life depends upon us being inspired. And inspiration, as I said earlier, is fueled by love. I smell the rose because I love the rose and it inspires me. If I was frightened of the rose and somebody said, you've got to smell this rose because I'm going to give you $10, fine, I can do that, but that's motivation.
What are some, excuse me, what are some, all right. What are some practical things that people can do as managers and leaders to change those habits? Or what are some techniques, some things that they can do today that would help them change that fear-based management to more of inspiring?
Well, I think one of the things we can do is to shift the emphasis from me to you. You'd have to remember about a sales contest, for example. This is not about you. I don't want you to do well or succeed or whatever. This is about me. Because if you do well and the other 10 people in the sales team all do well, then I get to make my budget. So this is about me. I'm going to manipulate your behavior to bring about an outcome that pays me my bonus. Now, inspiration isn't about me. It's about you. I don't need anything from you when I'm trying to be inspiring. I want you to do well. I don't care about me. It's a gift to you. It's an act of love. So the difference really is a shift of emphasis from me to you. And it's simple to say, difficult to do. But if you had a sales team of 10 people, how would you go about inspiring them to sell more than they're selling right now?
Right. How do you do that? How do you, what's something I can do today that would help?
I think make them own it. So You have to remember, you may think that a $10,000 prize is a very important incentive for them and motivates them and so on. But it might be something quite different. It might mean, would you like the day off? The Toronto Raptors just won the championship and I'm in that part of the world. So a lot of companies said, we want to have you in the parade. There were 1 million people in the parade yesterday. And so, that makes the sort of thing where people are inspired. The company doesn't want anything from them. It's a gift to them. It's a recognition of the fact that they're humans, that they would probably be connected to this because everybody is in this part of the world. And so therefore it's a generous thing to do. That's inspiring. It's not about me. I don't need anything from you.
So it boils down to, having a conversation with each one of your people to see what they need and what they want.
Exactly. And it's about serving. And we're back to a very old and tried and tested formula of servant leadership.
Indeed.
Motivation is about me.
Let's talk about the bellwether effect, because I think what we've been talking about kind of feeds into that really well. You talk about trends. You talk about we chase these bright, shiny objects, or we chase these trends in management and leadership. And you break it down with 8 different examples of typically where we're really going wrong.
Right.
What was how did you come to think about this, and where did the idea for this, and how did this sort of come together for you?
Well, I think it's back to the overload question. I used to teach at the university years ago, and one of the things I noticed is that everybody is either researching or teaching or both, and every leadership professor wants to create a new model. Now, I don't know how many professors there are in North America, but it's tens of thousands, I'm sure, and they're all trying to create new models. Now, imagine the noise that happens in the workplace. I mean, what model are you supposed to follow? And there's a new one every 3 minutes. So the question becomes, how do we remove all this stuff? Because all we're doing all the time is adding things. And what I realize is that we actually need to subtract some things, not add things. We keep layering this stuff on to the point where the organization becomes calcified. So, I ask the question every speech I make, how many people would give up their day jobs if they had a free choice? What proportion of the population? And I start off by saying, do you think it's 50%? I try not to lead the audience, but I start there. Immediately somebody will say, no, it's 60. Somebody will say, no, it's 70. Somebody will say 80. I had one the other day, audience just this week, actually. They said 100. 100% of people would give up their jobs if they had free choice. What have we created here? This monster where the majority, 8 out of 10 people, don't want to go to work on Monday morning, and we're supposed to be happy with this. We've made a terrible mess of this. And therefore, the bellwether effect is about, what should we stop doing? Because we're demoralizing people at work. And frankly, that's an existential problem, because it's not just about doing it right for people or creating successful companies. We're a capitalist system. And if the main engine of our capitalist system is broken, that's a problem.
You think people are unhappy because of we have piled on so much? You think that that's the root cause of the unhappiness?
That we have what?
Because we're piling on so much. We're trying this, we're trying that. We move from one. I mean, I've worked in organizations where, every year the evaluation systems change because there's a newer and greater way to do it. There's this constant management churn, I guess, to do something different, the newest thing. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. And that's what the professors are doing that I mentioned.
You don't know, and you don't know where you stand, right? You don't know what the goals are. You don't know where you stand. You don't know what is expected of you, because it's constantly changing.
Yes. So I've learned a lot, quite honestly, from a very successful marriage. I've had, my wife passed away 5 years ago, but we had an amazing marriage, 30 years, simply a remarkable woman, my soulmate. Now, one of the 8 things in the bellwether effect is the performance appraisal. This is the most demoralizing, miserable, critical, judgmental, offensive device that we use in business today, and it has absolutely no impact except a negative one. So for example, 60% of people who have performance appraisals suffer a decline in their performance immediately after the performance appraisal. Well, why would you do such a stupid thing? Now, if you look at marriage, would you do this at home? This is my sort of $64,000 question. It's like, hi, honey, we're going to sit down and have a little conversation about our key performance indicators and your budget, and do a 360 review and so on. I mean, you'd be beaten up so fast you wouldn't know which end was up. Yeah. So look, if it's not acceptable at work, why would we do this at home? I mean, why would we do this at work? And the reason it's not acceptable at home is because it's demeaning and critical and judgmental, and your spouse wouldn't put up with it. Well, then why would you do it at work? Take it away. It's simply unproductive and demoralizing and miserable. And it is a motivational device because it's fear-based. And if I don't get a good performance appraisal, I'm not going to get a salary raise. So it's all about motivation. Take it away and do what you would do at home, which is, hi, honey, how's your day been? Is there anything I can do to help around here? Let's sit down and have a chat together. That's what you do at work too. Why not?
Right. And the secret to the marriage is you do that every day. You communicate about the little things. You manage that relationship and you work on that relationship.
Exactly. And why wouldn't you do that at work? Why would you have this phony system? And where it's a boondoggle because we invest millions and millions of dollars in doing this every year, and it's a time waster too. So it's just all around miserable. That's just one of the 8.
It is. And the other one you talk about is silos.
Yeah.
And is, how do you, does this, you think, happen intentionally, or is this inadvertent? Do we do this sort of as people? How do you fight that, or how do you change that? Because that to me, I see a lot of that in my coaching.
Yeah.
These silos of in businesses, and I actually want your advice. Like, how do you break that? How do you work on that?
Well, it's again something that you would never do in other part of your life. You know, we are kind of mindless. This is what the bellwether effect is about. We look at other organizations and say, oh, they are doing performance appraisals, or they have EVP and level 29 jobs and separate salary levels and all that sort of stuff. So, okay, we'll do it. That's the bellwether effect. We don't think about it. We just do it because smart companies, successful companies do it. Therefore, we say, ah, they're clever. We should just copy them. Well, where we end up, of course, for instance, with separateness and silos, is that this is alienating for people. The shorthand on this is that whenever we're broken or wounded or hurt, that's when we are separated from what or whom we love. And whenever we're inspired and joyful and full of bliss, that's when we're one with what and whom we love. I'm working with a company right now that's grown from scratch to 2,500 employees. It's a North American-wide operator, and they do not have a title in the organization. And they do not have levels, any levels. And they don't refer to employees as employees, they call them team members. And people move to whatever needs to be done to get the job done. And there's a spirit of inspiration behind that that's remarkable.
That is remarkable. I mean, that is so counter to what we believe and what we think. I mean, I've worked with clients that have literally copied an HR manual or taken a pay scale system, as you said, right? And just literally copied and pasted it and put it in over here. Same with job descriptions, right? You go online, you find a job, they find a job description, and they,
Yep.
and I'm always shocked by that. But
Yeah.
so
the answer to your question is, why do we do this? I think is because it's tribal.
Okay.
We belong to a tribe, and the tribe is corporate speak and corporate work and corporate stuff. You know, another one that I talk about in the bellwether effect is the language of war. We use the language of war repeatedly in business. And there's tons of research to show that this is highly toxic, literally. It creates chemistry in our bodies, which is negative. If I were to say, you know, something blew me away, or blew the doors off, or blew something out of the water, or let's nuke the competition, or let's destroy, let's have a killer category or a killer app. I mean, what's the matter with us? You can't inspire people with the language of war. You can motivate them. Of course, it's perfectly suited for motivational culture, but you don't motivate, you don't inspire people with that language. And you will find it's odd. We'll be with someone and we'll walk away from a meeting with them and you'll wonder, why don't I feel better? And the answer is because your chemistry just got messed up by this person who's full of war language, which is highly toxic and has fired off all kinds of cortisol and other hormones in your body that make you feel ill and suppress your immune system.
I know what you're talking about. I've been in rooms where early in my career where that was the sales meeting, right? It
Sure.
was that's how they tried to fire you up or motivate you, as I know now. And it just sort of made my skin crawl, right? It didn't.
Exactly.
I didn't look at my clients in that way, you know.
Right.
But that makes a lot of sense to me. How do you, with all your work, I getting away from the book a little bit, how do you stay so healthy and sort of energetic? I mean, you have this crazy schedule. You're all over the world. You're still consulting. You're running the center. What are your secrets to sort of healthy lifestyle? What is it that keeps you really, really going?
You know, Edward Deming, the great guru, quality guru, he was 92 when he died. And he died one day after giving a speech to General Motors. Now, 92 is not, it is too soon for me, but I'd like to be around a lot longer than that. But you know, I've never worked, Rhett, really, because I love what I do and I'm on a mission. And I've been that way for like 50 or 60 years. So I feel very committed to what I'm about. People say, well, when are you going to quit? And even you say, yeah, well, you're still doing this. It's like, well, really? Yes, you're still alive? Fancy that. Well, you know, I don't feel that way. I feel that I'm full of energy. I'm healthy. You know, I do stay on top of that sort of thing. But I think having a mindset that says,
that's what I wanted to know about. That's what I wanted to understand is really the mind. The other stuff is important, but I think what is that? How do you keep that mindset healthy, right? How do you wake up every day and say and go, you know, and this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to change somebody. I'm going to work with somebody. I'm going to inspire somebody. How do you do that? What is that? Do you talk to yourself in the morning? Is there self-talk, or what does Lance do when he wakes up to put himself in the right frame of mind?
Well, it's just, I don't do anything like a mantra or anything like that, although I do meditate daily. But, you know, Matthew Fox at Grace Cathedral said a great line many years ago. He said, you know, none of us knows enough to be cynical. And I love that expression because I think that's the key to staying young. What I notice about older people is that they're very cynical. They think the world's broken, that everything's corrupt, that the world's going to rat shit, you know, and so on. And that can make you old because you just sound like a grumpy old man, right? And really, it's not that way. If you read the data on this, it's the opposite. And yeah, we get bombarded with the negative news, but actually the world is a lot better than it ever used to be. And if you're in that frame of mind and stay there and don't let the negative stuff get to you or pollute your thinking, but stay optimistic and forever inspiring for other people, works.
How do you block it out? How do you block out all that negativity?
Well, I think you have to do some pruning. Pruning of companies, you know, pruning of friends, pruning of your circle. I'm surrounded by very positive people, and basically I don't spend time with negative people. It's as simple as that. You are, what do they say? You're a reflection of your 5 best friends. So, yeah.
So that to me seems like some of the best advice, right? I think it is who you associate with. It is who you talk to on a daily basis. It is what you choose to consume in terms of news or information, what you choose to read, you know, what you, and I think that makes a huge difference. And because I think you don't have to be old to be negative. I think people can, I think your attitude makes all the difference to me in the world. So I appreciate the conversation today. What, if there was one thing to leave us with from the Bellwether Effect, what would that be? And where can people find it? How can they be in touch with the center? If I want you to talk a little bit about the center too, and that work again, and what specifically what you do and what kind of clients that you work with.
Well, we work with pretty well every kind of client. So we do a lot of work with very large clients, Fortune 100 companies, but also with government, with academia, entrepreneurs, smaller companies, individuals, even artists and athletes and so on. So across the board. And our work really is about changing the culture and changing the structure of an organization in order to achieve outcomes. And we're pretty, as you've heard, I think, in this conversation, skeptical about some of the traditional ways of thinking.
Right.
How you feel about this, but I keep seeing the same stuff coming around in circles all the time. Basically, you know, a new generation of teachers teaching the same old stuff that the older generation was teaching before. There's nothing new here. And yet, you know, things are so broken that we need to change things. For example, the motivational concept is built into our society. Buy this product or you'll be ugly. Vote for me or the bad guys will get you. Pass my exam or I'll fail you. Do what I say or I'll punish you. Do what I say or I'll fire you. Join my religion or you'll go to hell. Follow this health protocol or you'll die. I mean, it's every part of our society. We've learned this system and it's the one wearing us out. So we need to switch our emphasis and energy, and we have to live that way. You ask me, how do I live that way? Well, I try to anyway, the way I teach.
Okay. I believe that. And so you run sessions all year round, or is it, what are the sessions at the Secretan Center? When does it take place? When can they go to the website and look at availability, contact the center and schedule something for their company? What?
Well, most of our work is internal. So we work for corporations. So a company like Microsoft or Starbucks or whoever will be, a client of ours, and we'll do work for them and stay inside that company for probably a little while. But we also run certification programs. So I run one in the summer and another one in the winter. I live in Colorado in the winter, so I'm in my mountain home there in the winter, and in Ontario, Canada in the summer. And we also do coach certification programs in partnership with Coachville, and they're the largest coach training organization in the world. We train twice a year a group of coaches and certify them. We run them through a whole program that enables them to become more proficient coaches. So we do a lot of that sort of work as well.
Okay. All right. And the book, where can people find the book? I know they can get it on the website, but I know there are other.
Yeah, well, secretan.com is our website. You can find the book there, of course, but also on Indigo, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all of the digital sites.
Okay. We'll put a link up during the live feed. We'll put the book up there for people to click on as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much, Lance. I know your time is really valuable. This has been a really interesting conversation. And I think we could actually have our own show on each of the silos, or
right.
each of the 8 issues in the book. I think that they probably each warrant their own conversation. But yes. I hope people got a taste of that today, of the importance of this book, particularly if you're management or leadership. I think that this book can really change the way you think and help you change the organization, your organization for good. So thank you so much for helping and explaining what it is and why people should pick it up, because I think it's a great read.
Thank you very much, Rhett. Great to be on your show.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon, sir. Thank you.
Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.